How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. A bit tired, but it is
Yeah,
what it
it's
is.
been a very, very busy week for me too. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. But I am happy to be here again because we missed last week. So I'm good.
Yeah, you're a closing machine. I mean, a deal closing machine. It's just amazing. People, if you're watching this and if you want to have your property rented or sold, just contact Kiafa immediately because I think she's going to take a couple of seconds to have a client on your property. She's just amazing.
Yeah, yeah, it's starting to get there. It's starting to get to a point to where I may have to not accept clients soon. Only so many. So yeah, so I always tell people when they call me, I'm like, yeah, go ahead and like try to book me as soon as you can because it's first come first serve. And I see that here in Merida, I don't know if it's everywhere, but like I see that a lot of people come in during these months are busier from what everybody's telling me. So because you have like your snowbirds and you have just people coming because it's getting colder in the states and in other places. So yeah. Hi, Gigi.
Hi, Gigi. Welcome back.
So yeah, so it's getting very very busy, and yeah. So I think it's like that here. Even with the landlords, I noticed, Karina, that like when I reach out to them, like literally 5 minutes before I got on this live, I had a realtor call me. They've started to call me now versus messaging me on WhatsApp when I tell them I want to set an appointment. Because it's like everybody's trying to get their home rented out like as soon as possible, like quick, 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 right? I guess because they know a lot of, I don't know, people are coming, so they want to go ahead and have it rented out like first. So yeah, I was like, it's crazy now. They're calling me now, like, and I'll have to message them and be like, oh, can we message them maybe a little bit better? But I'm gonna talk to her a little bit later. So yeah.
So I think they're making a good decision, so they will have to wait. Good things take time.
Exactly, exactly.
So now I think hopefully we're going to have our last episode about rental agreements in Merida.
Yes, yes, I think so. So we did have two already. We talked already a little bit about like the differences between like just the occupancy agreement and then like the actual like leasing agreement. Just what we do here in Yucatan that's different than in like the rest of Mexico. So we did talk about that when it comes to like the leasing agreements. And then we did also talk the last episode. We talked a little bit about people that are coming here, not having to worry about being kidnapped. If you live in a Pravada, we talked about you cannot be held hostage and you won't be held against your will if you are living in a Pravada. We kind of went over those things because there was a lot going on with someone here who did say that they were having issues, and that they were kidnapped and being held against their will and things like that. So we kind of went over that, to let everyone know it's illegal for you to be held against your will, not to be able to leave, and that's not true. And the young lady actually was able to leave, so we did go over that. And then I talked a lot about the differences between here and in the US. As far as in the US, you can just, if you don't pay your bills, then, they're just going to put it on your credit. Versus here, they're not going to do that. They can actually hold your things as collateral. So we went over that as well. So just that it is a little bit different here. And we talked a little bit also about even though they can't put it on your credit, they do have other things that they can do, as far as putting your name on a list, with all the other neighbors. And guess what, Karina? Oh
What?
my gosh! So for the people who watched the last episode, do you remember I was telling you about one of the providers where they put the if you're behind like so many months, they put your name in a WhatsApp group with everybody in the whole community in the neighborhood. So I had to show that house. I had to show that house, the exact same neighborhood, like 2 days ago. Now, when you go into the security, like when you're at the security gate in your car, and right there at the security window, now they have a big white board with all of the house numbers that are late paying their bills. I was like, what? So so like they took it a step further, and now you have to like you can't even go into your neighborhood. Everybody will be able to see that you're late if you're late, so many months. So I'm like, see, that just goes to show like, it's different here. And, people think they can get away with not paying their rent, and or just not paying their bills. But just know that you will be embarrassed. You might very well be embarrassed. Everyone might know, because they'll be in Facebook groups. It'll be like right there in security. And I was just like, oh my gosh. Like no. So I saw like it's like casa numero like this number, that number, and I was just like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. So yeah, I just wanted to say that because I know we talked about that. Yeah, so yeah. So yeah, we talked about the differences. They're not gonna do that in the U.S., but they will do that here. So you can't get away with it. But yeah, so I think yeah, that's a lot of the things that we did cover. Yeah, so just basically the differences. I think so. I think that sums it up for the most part.
Yeah, exactly. And also, we talked about some requisites and more or less how the process for renting a property should be for
Yeah.
our friends aiming to rent a property or to relocate in Merida to feel safe, because there's a lot of rumors being spread out there that, of course, freak people out. I don't know if that's a bad word. I don't want to be censored or canceled, as the kids would say. But yeah, it's very, very important to be aware of all the possible consequences of of things not being done in the correct way for both parties, from the tenant and from the owner. So in this case, we're kind of warning the tenants or the tenants to be, so they know everything and every situation they may find or they may face when trying to rent a property or to relocate in Merida. Maybe in another series we will talk about owners trying to rent or to become landlords, because that's exactly the other side of the coin. And today, I think the last situations we have to talk about are things like the co-signer, the security deposits, um, and certain questions our clients have been asking about renewals of the contract, renovations of the contracts, increases, etc. So let's start with the topics. If you are new in here, you can go to the other two episodes where we've been talking about rental agreements in Merida, where we explain like carefully what the differences are between the two agreements that are mostly used in Merida. Remember that in Merida is, well, not only in Merida, but in Yucatan, and sometimes here in Quintana Roo as well, the contract that's mostly used is the occupancy agreement, which is the contract that focuses on the handover of the property. But you can go to episode, I think it's in episode 2 or
Yeah.
1. You can go and watch them all so you can become an expert in rentals.
Right.
So there's a common situation about being asked with an aval, which would be translated as a cosigner.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have an aval, they will ask you to give 2 security deposits or sometimes 3, depending if you have, I don't know, pets or something like that. But let's first analyze what a cosigner is. When you are renting a property, you will have to give something to the owner who is going to guarantee that you're going to comply with the commitments um, you are receiving through the contract, through the leasing agreement. What they want is to have the warranty of you paying the monthly fee, and also to get the expenses covered in case hold on, in case of any damage occurs, or bills not paid or anything. So they want to have a way for you to be warranting them that you're going to pay every single debt that might be left in the property. As it's expected, most of the people don't want to leave a title. Sorry, I need to go back a little bit. So the way for warranting this is to leave a title of a property being located in Merida as the warranty of that. Of course, that situation is risky because First of all, if you're renting a property, it's because you don't own a property. So probably you're not going to have a title. And if you're coming from a different country or from a different city, even within Mexico, probably you don't know or you don't have any acquaintances that can give you the title of their property, and nobody's going to want to risk the property for a rental fee. So what they are doing is to accept people who cannot provide a co-signer with a title as a warranty, just to give two security deposits instead of one. So let's say if we're talking about a rental of 10,000 pesos per month, of course they will request for a 1 month security deposit. But since you're not giving a co-signer or presenting a co-signer, then they will ask you to give a second security deposit. So this is going to be the replacement for the co-signer, and this is going to be the way the owner will have for you to warranty that you're going to pay the damages, the possible damages in the houses, in the property, I'm sorry, or if you are late in the bills, or in case you haven't paid certain fees. In some cases, we have to be on the other side. I've seen damages much higher than the security deposit. It's not possible to cover them, but in the end, it's kind of part of the risk. So, like I said in the beginning, we are focusing only on the side of the tenants. So this is why they are asking constantly for two security deposits. Probably you haven't seen this situation in other places if you've already been in Mexico or living in other cities in Mexico. The only city I know so far that is requesting the cosigner or higher security deposits besides Merida is Mexico City. But in Mexico City, the situation is completely different because it's going crazy. There's no housing at all. There's a deficit in housing, so it's kind of understandable. Maybe that the situation is different. So if you are asked for giving two security deposits, then you can feel safe. It is normal and it is accepted, and it's some sort of an insurance for the owner to be safe or to feel comfortable about renting the property away. So that's the first thing we were going to talk about. You've had
Yes.
any comments from clients about this?
Yes. So, when it comes to the security deposits, just from something that I have noticed myself is that a lot of times when you have a good when you have a good relationship with your landlord, I've noticed there have been like a few tenants that I know personally that needed to leave their home earlier than the lease. So let's say it was a 1 year lease, and then there was someone who wanted to leave. One of my friends wanted to leave like 2 months earlier, and then I had someone else who wanted to leave that I know that wanted to leave even earlier, sooner than the 2 months. I think it was like 3 or 4 months left. And so when they spoke to the homeowner about why they needed to leave, they were like, okay, they were like, no problem. We'll just keep one of your deposits and we'll give you just one of your deposits and we'll keep one, and then you can go ahead and move and everything will be fine. Which in those situations, I thought that was cool because they could have said, yeah, you can leave early, but I'm keeping both of your security deposits. I know everyone is different, but because they had a good relationship with their landlord, the landlord was okay with it. So, that's just something that I noticed. But yeah, with the security deposits, a lot of times I see often, probably at least once a month since I've been here, in some of the expat groups, I always see where people will say, "Oh my gosh, I don't want to pay the security deposits. I feel like I'm being ripped off," or I'm trying to get a way around the two security deposits. And so, thankfully, I have a lot of people who always like will back me up and just be like, "Look, you need to pay both security deposits, and here's why." And a lot of times they'll still try to go and find a home on their own without the two security deposits, but then they'll find out it's very, very hard. And it's understandable why, because if you're a foreigner, they have no way of tracking you if you decide to just up and leave and, just, break your lease and leave, then how can they track you? So that's their security, just like the tenants want security. The homeowner and the landlord, they also want security as well. So I think it's very understandable, and I think it's very plausible. So, yep, that's just my take on it.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a scam, and it's not only being because of being a foreigner. It applies to Mexicans, foreigners, aliens, to
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a
if,
good
to
point.
everyone.
Mhm.
You cannot provide a title and a co-signer. They are going to ask you for a second security deposit, and this has been happening for a while. I mean, it's not recent. The boom in Merida has been increasing like slowly, but in the past 2 years, it's been crazy. Everybody wants to move it to Merida.
Mhm.
But this situation has been like for a long time. It's been, I don't know, that I'm aware, for at least 10 years or something like that. So
Oh
don't take it
wow.
personally.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. I mean, because a lot of people, since there's a lot of rumors, and of course we say in Spanish, if the river makes sounds, it's because it takes water or something like that. I never know how to translate the folklore, but I think it's understandable. So of
Mhm.
course there's a lot of horror histories, horror stories. Um, about people being scammers with foreigners. And yesterday we were talking about that, about the
Yeah.
gringo price, because they say that you are a foreigner. They will, not all, not all, of course, but there's going to be, of course, some people who's going to try to be greedy and abusive, and oh, because you come from another country, then you can pay extra. So this is kind of, I wouldn't say normal, and of course I wouldn't like to use that word, but it's common in places where immigration is increasing. So of course they see an opportunity for them to make extra money to rent to a foreigner. So I think I wanted to talk about this in the very very end, but I think now it's the point. So there's a constant talk about gentrification and things like that. And of course, it's part of a global world, of a globalized world. So I think we all, as a community, whether you were born in Mexico or you were born somewhere else, we all are humans, and we all belong to the same place. No? So there's some ways for all of us to fight against the gentrification, because it, in the end, affects us all. Not only affect the locals, but it also affect the people who wants to move in Mexico, or to any place they want to move, because things can become unaffordable for everyone.
Mhm.
And there's people who blames foreigners for gentrification, but in the end, it's not foreigners' fault. I mean, they are not the one to blame, but the ones to blame are the ones who are super greedy and want to, like, how do you call it? Like, suck the blood out of them. So yeah,
Vampires.
very very unfair, because in the end, it's hurting the market, and of course it's
Yeah.
hurting the reputation, because a lot of people get scared of moving to Mexico, because they feel we all Mexicans are going to try to abuse and to make extra money just because they come from another place. And this is an invitation for all of us, no? For Mexicans who are aiming to rent properties, whether the tenants are Mexican or from other places in the world, just to keep prices fair. I mean, it's not fair to just increase the prices of anything just because of the nationality of someone. So this is like doing the harakiri. Maybe you're going to be able to charge an extra 10%, or maybe even an extra 20%, but in the end, nobody's going to rent that property for you again, and it's going to last a very very short time. Your greed and your abusiveness. And as a foreigner coming here, I understand that it's a new world, and probably you don't want to be difficult to try to negotiate, but don't let the abusive ones to hurt your wallet. So if you feel like the prices, of course it requires a lot of common sense and empathy on both sides, because we have to find a middle term for both of the parties, where everybody's happy. Of course the owners want to make some money and profit from the property, and of course the tenants want to find an affordable house, and there's a way where both can meet, like in the middle. So it's not about throwing a low ball, a super low ball, and it's also not to rising the stick a lot. So try to negotiate. Don't accept to pay ridiculously high rentals if you just feel like it's not normal. try to do some research, of course. Approach to the experts, and I'm not trying to tell you to, oh yes, come to the realtors because we want to make money from you. Of course we want to make money because this is what we do. It's not for free, but what we want is everybody to be happy, including us.
Yeah.
So ask your questions, and if you feel like the prices are not fair, something like that, just ask your agent or the one who's representing you. And if it's a professional person, they will guide you, and they will tell you, no, I think we can make a negotiation, or no, I mean, this is a fair price. It doesn't make sense to make a negotiation. But yes, I mean, we can all together fight against these ridiculous prices increases, because prices increases, well, I mean, I hope you understand, because sometimes my English gets like super broken. But
Price increases, yeah. And I agree with you. I just had clients who I did a closing with on yesterday. We went to go look at the property earlier in the week, and we looked at several homes, but when they saw this one particular home, they loved it and they wanted that particular house. But the homeowner was asking for too much for the home. So that's why they were so happy that I was there, because they wanted my advice, and they were like, so, is she asking too much for this house? And, me being honest, I was like, yeah, I was like, let's try to negotiate. So we all, got around the table and we wrote down numbers to try and negotiate. And the homeowner, the landlord, still wouldn't really budge. And me personally knowing kind of how the market goes here, I was told the client, it's completely up to you because I know you like this home, but this is, the price is really not fair, to be honest. What they're trying to charge you. And I believe that the reason why the homeowner didn't want to go down was because the client had told the landlord, listen, if you will negotiate with us and go down on the price a little bit, it was only maybe like 2,000 pesos. They were like, if you'll go down a little bit, we'll go ahead and pay you 7 months rent up front. So we'll give you, the 2 months deposit, the first month's rent, the notary, and then we'll pay extra on top of that. And so the homeowners didn't want to do that. And so but I think that kind of made them say, well, you have the money to pay this amount of rent. So no, we're not going to negotiate and go down. I think that's kind of what happened. So the client was just like, okay, well, we're just going to think about it. And so at that point, I told the other realtor and I told the homeowner, I said, well, they're just going to think about it right now because they're not so sure. And so she was shocked. She was like, oh my gosh, they're going to think about it. Oh my gosh, so they're not going to take the deal. They're not going to do it. And I was just like, no, they want to think about it, right now. She was just like, oh my God. So it was hilarious. So I promise you, like about 30 minutes later, the other realtor called me and she was like, they decided to go ahead and accept the client's offer. So the client got exactly what they wanted. Exactly. They didn't have to like go up or anything. They got exactly what they wanted. So that's why like it's so important what Karina said. Like we're not just trying to get your money, but it's very important that you do have like someone who is a professional or can give you some really good advice, someone who kind of knows the market in your area so that you're not being ripped off and paying these, like gringo prices for your home. So yeah, I just wanted to add that tidbit. I just wanted to add that.
it's important, and you did a great job with the negotiation, because in the end it was good for everyone. I mean,
Yeah.
the owners didn't have money, they get the money advanced, and the tenants or the clients wanted no, sorry, kept the house they wanted. So we all are
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah. Everybody's happy.
Yeah, but yeah, take this as an invitation for negotiating. I think there was a general belief that only us Mexicans were the ones to, we call it in Spanish regatear, when we're always trying to get a bargain or something like that. But I mean, the person that has been the most regateador that I've ever met, it's a Dutch guy, and he's always gotten good discounts, even buying cars from the dealer. So
Wow.
yeah, I think not Mexicans are the only ones trying to get a discount in it. So just again, base your negotiations in common sense and empathy, and everything will be going like smoothly. And
Exactly.
I must advise you all, if you are trying to relocate in Merida, and I was talking about that with Key yesterday. Um, Learn Spanish.
Yes,
Learn
absolutely.
Spanish, because
Yeah,
you never know what they are going to be bluffing or bluffing. No, how do you call it? Like when they are gossiping.
yeah. Bluffing or talking, like talking about stuff that you probably should know. Like, you just never know when they're talking. That's why I'm happy I start my Spanish classes on Monday. Yay!
Muy
I'm so
bien.
excited.
Maybe next episode is going to be fully in Spanish.
Yes, we'll see. I don't know.
No, I mean
That's
that
right.
is, learning Spanish is important because it's going, especially in a place like Merida, where you cannot find like a lot of people speaking English. I mean, of
Yeah.
course, there's an expat community where you will
Mhm.
be able to communicate easily, but if you compare, let's
Yeah.
say, Playa, Tulum, Cancun, here, like I've mentioned before, I've met people who's been living here for 15, 20 years, and they don't speak a word in Spanish because everybody here speaks English.
Yeah.
So it becomes like
Yeah.
uncomfortable, and it doesn't represent like a challenge, because wherever you go, you are going to be understood. But in Merida, it's completely different. It's very, very difficult to find, starting with attorneys. There's not very many attorneys we've found for the rentals that can speak English. It's
Mhm.
a problem. So it's super, super important that you start understanding. Of course, learning a language takes time, but what better opportunity you have that being like fully immersed in a Hispanic country for learning like fast. So yes,
Exactly.
that's your advice. Learn Spanish and you will not be scammed.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you can learn Spanish, start learning Spanish before you come. That's my advice. So,
Exactly. And you can use Duolingo. I mean, why
so yeah.
you're going to have like phrases super weird, like, oh, the dog eats the strawberries or things like that. But you're going to start getting familiar with pronunciation, with vocabulary. Also,
Right.
another thing to do for practicing another language is to be as involved as possible.
Yeah.
Listening to podcasts, reading books, watching movies in their language, etc. So
And
maybe it
music.
could help.
Yeah. Music. Music is another one. If you're listening to listening to music, then that helps too because you're gonna want to know the lyrics.
Yeah.
And yeah, and like there are a lot of artists who do Spanish and English, like Shakira, J Lo.
Oh
you
yeah,
know, yeah. So they have a lot of songs in Spanish and in English, so you can kind of listen to that too. That's just some good advice, I think. Yeah.
yeah, just don't use reggaeton as a reliable source, because I mean not even us Spanish speakers can understand what they're saying. So don't
Right. Facts.
use them. So I think we've diverted a little bit from the
Oh
topic.
yeah.
All the it's part of the negotiation tips. So
Yes.
we were talking about the two deposits and the cosigner, right?
Yes. Yes.
Uh,
So yeah, we went over the cosigner, which is called an aval. So basically, with the aval, that's something that you don't have unless you own a property here. So you would probably have to pay 2 deposits here in Merida, and then we actually talked about the deposits as well. Um, as far as the deposits, yeah, we went over that as well.
we have to mention about the how you can secure that your deposit is going to be given reimbursed to you from the very beginning. So that's a situation we were dealing with yesterday.
Yeah. So this is another reason why I'm like I have to start my Spanish lessons now. Even Karina was like, "Okay, you just need to learn Spanish," because the clients that I had yesterday. Another reason why I'm so tired with these big bags under my eyes was because yesterday I had a closing yesterday morning, and I didn't finish with the clients. I didn't get home until after dark last night, and it was a long day. and we were in the notary office for quite some time. And one of the issues, the first issue was basically that in the agreement, the occupancy agreement, it stated that at the end of the term, at the end of the lease, that the clients would receive back their deposits as long as the home was in the same condition in which they received the home. Basically it doesn't, it's not, torn up, no holes in the wall, things like that, and which was fine. That was great. However, it then also stated that the client had 10 business days in which they needed to make sure that all the bills were caught up, rent is caught up, make sure everything is paid. And when I say bills, I'm talking electricity, I'm talking, if you have like a water bill or internet, things like that. So just to make sure all that was done within like 10 days of, leaving. However, the client felt like that she was not being protected, but that the actual landlord was being protected because it stated, what the tenant had to do before she left, but it did not like specifically state like clearly to her that she would receive her two deposits back. It said that she would, but the fact that it did not say a time frame, so like it said 10 days, you have to do this, but it did not say within 30 days or within 60 days, you'll receive your deposit back. So that was one of the biggest issues yesterday, and we spent hours doing that. We called Karina. Oh my gosh. I called you regular WhatsApp call, and that turned into a video call. And I was like, oh no, because the client had the phone at that point. Because the client was like, I want to speak to Karina. So I was like, okay. But then they wanted Karina to see the actual contract. So then they video called her. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I know that's the worst because I hate when people just video call me out of the blue. So I was just like, oh my goodness. So then the next thing you know, like Karina's like, huh?
I was in the bathroom, Nana.
Right, like just like, oh my gosh. It was such a long day, and then so basically Karina had to look over the lease, which they didn't want her to see it. They were kind of being a little bit difficult. They didn't want her to see it because they thought the client was trying to take a picture, and I was like, oh no, it's illegal for you to take a picture. And we were like, no, we're not trying to take a picture. We're just trying to show her, what it says and everything. However, the reason why it's important for us to learn Spanish is because, Karina, like you were saying, it's just understood that the client was going to get her deposit back in a timely manner. Is that correct? But to us, in the translation, because we were reading the translated version, to us, it wasn't really understood that way in English. Like it can almost go either way.
Yeah. It was subject to interpretation. Certainly, the word
Mhm.
not correct. I mean, let me organize my ideas because now I feel like doing the same. The wording wasn't accurate, so it could be interpreted in different ways from for the convenience of both of the parties. So attorneys do that constantly, but in this case or in this case, what notarios do is to send the, how do you call them, the trainees or the just graduated attorneys with no
Yeah.
experience, and they are not willing to negotiate any circumstance because of course they feel powerful because they're new attorneys, or maybe because they're just scared of us of admitting that something that they just don't know. So here's a tip. You have the right, and the other party has the obligation to provide you with the contract, with the draft of the contract, at least with 24 hours before the signing, because
Right.
you have the right
Yeah.
to translating it. For the translation, I would advise you not to use Google Translate because there's going to be a lot of inaccuracies, but you can use ChatGPT.
Mhm.
ChatGPT
Okay.
is not a
ChatGPT.
translator.
I was like, yeah, Chat GPT. Yeah, I didn't even think about that because we were using Google Translate and it just wasn't translating as you were saying that it actually was. And so the client was just like no, like I'm not signing this. So yeah.
No, it changes everything. So ChatGPT helps a lot for translating, especially, you know, one thing is the language, and the other thing is the legal language. Sometimes even in the same language, we
That's
don't
right.
what's
Yeah.
written in the contract.
Yeah.
With this artificial intelligence, it interprets the context. Of course, there's room for mistakes. It's a machine, but it's
Yeah.
going to give you a more accurate translation of that
Mm-hmm.
Google Translate would. So ask for the draft at least 24 hours before the signing. And if you don't have a reliable translator, interpreter, use the chat GPT, and of course try to confirm everything
Which
with.
we did not yesterday. We did not have a reliable translator. She was it was crazy because like literally the lawyer, the attorney would so the notary would sit there and she would tell her what to tell us. And then the translator would tell us 3 words of what the lawyer said. She had like a whole 5 minute conversation and she would tell us like 3 words or 4 words. It was confusing. So thank you for that advice. Chat GPT, everybody. We're gonna do Chat GPT until we learn Spanish.
Yeah. And it's I mean, since it's not a translator, you will have to give it the prompt. What you can do is just translate this to English.
Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's going to give you a very, very accurate translation, and then you're going to feel more safe about what you're going to sign. Another thing is, yesterday, what they were not allowing to take pictures of is the official paper, which in Spanish is called the protocolo. Protocolo is this book from the notario. In the old days, they used to have it like in a closed book. Now it's just loose sheets.
Like
Is
loose
this
paper. Mm-hmm.
after certain amount of contracts, they put them all together and then they close it and send it to the archive. In this specific document is not allowed to be photographed, but they can provide you with a simple copy before printing the official paper or to go to the protocolo. If you don't approve the contract, they shouldn't be printing it because you have to read first what you're going to sign. And of course,
Oh yeah, okay. That's what happened yesterday. She printed it without us agreeing on everything to sign. That's what the issue was.
yeah,
Okay.
and even though, even if it's already printed in the protocolo, there's some room for corrections. We call it testar. I don't know the accurate word for in English for this kind of correction, because in Spanish it's called testar, like testing, but just testar. The notario is going to write in with a pencil the notes or the things that have to be corrected. This only works for small corrections, like let's say typos, or
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
like, like the situation we wanted to be corrected yesterday, which is just a change of the wording, like a minor change. It shouldn't alter
Yeah. Alter. Uh huh. It shouldn't alter.
thank you, the
Right.
structure of the document, because it has
Right.
a certain amount of lines and it has a structure that is official. As long as it doesn't alter the structure, it can be corrected even after being printed in the official document. But the advice is to read and fully understand the document before sending it or before giving the authorization for them to print it in the legal paper.
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
Okay. Yeah.
mhm.
So that was part of the issue yesterday. Yeah. I'm actually going to have those clients. They actually want to come on this podcast or something. They want to give us some sort of video about their experience. And just so that other people can learn from it, because that was, it was something that I think a lot of people could learn from. I learned from it. I learned a lot from that experience yesterday. And now I know with the legal documentation, what's what's okay and what's not okay. So yeah, that helped out a lot for sure. Yeah, yeah.
No, even after having 10,000 transactions, you will not find any I mean, you will not find two that are going to be
That's
just.
gonna be alike. Exactly. Yeah, I
You're
haven't
going
yet.
to keep.
Every time we talked about that, Karina. Like every time it was something different. Like each client, there's always something different. It's never just one seamless, simple process. It's always something. It's always something.
It's always like, it's kind of easy for once.
That's why it's important, I think, for people to have an expert and to have have an advisor who can help you because it's something. It's like it's always something. So yeah, just make sure you're protected and covered. That's my advice.
And also, be sure that in your contract, even if the uh, occupancy agreement doesn't state a lot of situations about the price and everything, it always declares the deposit. So be sure to make clear when and how you're going to receive your deposit back. Of course, you as a tenant have to meet certain criteria to be able to receive your money back, and that's understandable. Of course, the owner has to be maybe a walkthrough in the property to see that everything's okay. They have to confirm that the bills are paid, that there's no debts, that there's no damage in the house or anything that has to be paid before you leave. And that's understandable. I think that you as a tenant would do the same if you were renting the property. But
Exactly.
it is important to state when and how you're going to receive your money back. When I do contracts for rentals, I usually set 45 calendar day, natural days after the contract has been terminated, because especially the electricity bill comes, like
After
later.
like 2 months.
You can,
Yeah,
sure, but it's better to have some room for waiting. But
yeah. I
yeah,
understand. That's yeah, I agree with you. I understand that because that was another question she did ask. Well, what happens with that last electricity bill because it comes after we move out. So I think it is a good idea. I do that anyway. I ask multiple times for the client when will they have their deposit refunded because a lot of the foreigners are very um, concerned about that. So I just make sure that we go over it a few times. So yeah, but it's understood. It is understood in every contract that you will receive both of your deposits back as long as you're giving it back. All your bills are paid. You're not leaving behind any debt, and then also the property is still in good condition. So that's just so that you know what to expect.
exactly. And another thing that is very, very advisable at the very beginning is that the agent who's representing you, well, actually, that should be the job of the agent who's representing the listing, that provides with a copy of all the bills. Because otherwise, you're going
Yeah,
to be calling everyone, how should I pay the electricity, or the power has been cut off? How can I pay that? So, if actually the listing agent should deliver to you all the copies of the bills, let's say
yeah,
water, internet, whatever service is hired in the property, you have to have a copy of the bill, because also you're going to need a proof of address for doing whatever tramit you are going to need because you're relocating in the place. So make sure to get those, and also before, I mean, in the moment of receiving the property, take photos of the meters, water
exactly, exactly.
and power meter, because
hmm
sometimes I don't know if the house was occupied until a week ago, probably you're going to receive a consumption from the previous
From the
occupant,
previous, exactly,
and you
exactly,
pay for that.
absolutely. And that's another reason why you need to have an advisor because I always tell my clients we have to get the previous electricity bill, let's get the previous water bill, let's get all of these previously, take a picture of the meter. All of that is very important. So, yeah, I concur with you on that, Karina. Yeah, very important to do. Because if not, you're going to be paying, the prior tenant's bills, and nobody wants that to happen. So,
No, nobody. I mean, nobody wants to pay the electricity bill, so
anyway,
we don't
right?
want
I
this.
don't want to pay mine.
Exactly. I don't want to pay.
Anybody want to volunteer to pay my electricity bill? Just let me know.
Maybe we can start a GoFundMe or something like that for paying
Yeah,
our
we'll start a GoFundMe. Yeah, we can do that. GoFundMe, House by Mexico chicks. Yeah, chicas. Yeah.
babies.
Right. Yeah. It's all good.
Ah, yeah, yeah. What else? Another situation where we maybe.
Um,
Oh,
I would like to. Oh, go ahead.
oh, thank you. The rules. in case you're living in a gated community. That's very, very important. And that's something we agents forget constantly to give you. And that is very important because most of the time you're a new one. You're arriving to a place and you don't know how you have to behave. You don't know if you can be in the pool at midnight, or if you can have a party, or if you can walk your pets just like that. Of course, you need to be informed about the rules in the. This works especially for gated communities and condominiums. So you need to get the rules for you to be completely sure you're not going to be breaching any of them, and then you're going to have a ticket or something like that. Because in the end, if you get a fee for breaching any of those rules, the one who's going to have to pay for that is going to be the owner, because they're going to ask him directly, or her. But then he's going to come and tell you, oh, you took the garbage out in a Tuesday and it's only allowed to be done in Mondays. And you're going to be like, why? I mean, who told me that? So if you are not given with a copy of the rules of the neighborhood, make sure that you're asking for that, because I mean, in the end, it's you who's going to pay extra fees. You don't want to do that, so ask for those rules and be sure to understand them. If you don't understand them, again, try to to use ChatGPT for translating them, but ask. I mean,
Yeah.
this is like my
Yeah.
slogan, as you need.
Exactly. And one other thing I wanted to talk about are the pagares, which is basically a promissory note, a promissory agreement, so that every time you pay your rent, they give you a pagares, which is basically your proof that you paid your rent in the event something happens. Especially if you're paying in cash, you need that pagares as proof that you paid. So, Karina, I have a question, and I'm sure that the people who watch this will want to know as well. Yesterday, that I don't know if I think I forgot to tell you this, but I don't know. But at the end, they told the client that when you pay your rent in cash, in pesos, uh, we're gonna give you the pegares, but then we want you to rip it up. Is that normal? Because I said, okay. So I asked the translator, who was also the other realtor, I said, so what proof is the client going to have that she paid her rent? Because she's paying in cash. What proof will she have if you're telling her to rip the pagadas? I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh. Okay. But I'm like, I was like, what the hell? So I'm like, why are you telling my client to tear up the Pagadas, because that's their only proof that they're paying the rent. Like, what are we doing? And so I said, are they going to give her a receipt, or what's her proof? So then she translated, and then they told her, oh yeah, we'll give her a receipt. And I said, well, no, I don't advise my clients. I said, because anybody can make a receipt. Like, I can go right now on a work document and make a receipt. But to me, a pagares is more of a legal document than just a generalized receipt. So I told the clients, I was like, look, I was like, I do not approve of this message. Okay. I was like, I do not approve of you ripping your pagadas when you pay your rent. I was like, the pagadas is more to me of proof that you paid than just some receipt that somebody just like hand wrote or just typed up really quick to give to you. And so I told them, I was like, no, I said, no, they will not be ripping up their pagadas. I was like, keep every pagadas and just make sure you receive all of them at the end. And so I guess it was a weird day, Karina, because after that happened, and my clients were like, okay, well, we're not gonna rip up our packages, we're gonna keep it because she's advising us to keep it. So then they were like, oh, okay, well, we need your receipt back from where you paid your deposit. Because she, for those who don't know, when you find a home that you want, you go ahead and give them the money for the deposit right then, and then you give the rest of the money at the date of signing, which is a few days later. So they had already paid their deposit when they gave them the deposit to hold the house. Then they received a receipt, right? So at the signing yesterday, they were like, "We need that receipt back." And I was like, no. I was like, why do you need the receipt back? Because she paid her deposit. And they were like, no, we don't want her to have that receipt. We want to give her something else showing where she paid two deposits. with the amount of 2 deposits versus just the 1. And I'm like, no, that's not, no, because this receipt where she paid this deposit shows the date that she paid it and why she paid it, in the amount of with the address, and it has the date on there. If you're going to give her a receipt from today showing that she made 2 deposits today, that's inaccurate because the date on there is wrong. So I just wanted to let you know that. And like, that's another reason why you probably would want an advisor, because I don't know what was going on. I was just like, oh my, it was a long day, Karina.
It sounds like a dystopic reality.
Yeah, I was like, no, but just know that your packadas are very important to those who are watching. If somebody advises you to rip those up, don't do it. You want to keep those throughout the term because that's your legal proof that you actually paid your rent. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I was constantly making jokes about it, that, yeah, you're receiving your pagares, you can use them to light the grill or things like that, no? But no, the thing is that you have to keep them, because actually there's always the should be and the way it is. The way it should be is that they are going to give your pagares back, but they also should give you a receipt of the you're giving. Because, I mean, the pagare can be also, let's say that you are a meal person and you want to, I don't know, whatever, then you can also write a pagare and sign it and then keep it. And then you're going to say, like, yes, I already paid my rent because I have the pagare, the original pagare, which,
Okay.
I mean, it's not likely to happen because it has to be also signed by the other party, but everything can happen. So the correct way should be that they are going to give you back your signed pagare, and then they are also going to give you signed receipt of the money. That's the correct way, and it's not harmful to anyone. But probably what they don't want is to have any proof that they're receiving money, because of course that's tax free. That's another thing that we have to talk about maybe in another episode, but probably that's why.
Yeah.
But yeah, not rip off your pagares, don't set them in fire. Keep the pagares and also ask for a receipt. And also for the security deposit, that's very, very important. I mean, if you lose a pagare, probably there's nothing that's going to happen, but it's better to have
Really? Well, I'm glad you said that because they told her the reason why they needed to rip it up was just in case somebody finds the pagadas and then they try to alter it, and then something with them saying that it's their lease or their house or something like that. So I'm glad you said that. Thank you. So you cleared that up as well. It's even if you lose it, you should still be okay. Like, you don't have to worry about something crazy happening. Like, but anyway, I just wanted to I don't know. Anyway.
I mean, if it's crazy. If there's people who wants to
Oh Lord.
do like things in the wrong way, they're going to find a way for doing that. Um, yes, I mean, I don't really believe they were worried about the pagares were not sorry, the pagares being lost and found by someone else and being unshared. Probably it
Either.
was something they heard and then they were repeating. It's the first time actually I heard about someone asking you to tear your own pagares because they.
Yeah. And that was coming, hey, let's not forget that was coming from the notary. So that's why you want to have a trusted advisor to help you. Because I was just like, it was too much that was happening that I just was like, no, no, and no. Like, it was just a lot. So, that's just my tidbit. I would definitely have an advisor coming here just to be on the safe side.
Especially that it's probably not going to cost you or cost you a small fee, and it's going to be more expensive not to in the end.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I mean, it's better to have an advisor and to keep your and ask for a receipt, and also keep the receipt for your security deposit because
Facts.
you will want to have the proof of anything,
Exactly.
and
Facts.
also keep a good relation with your landlord.
Always. Yeah.
That's the
Oh.
most.
Yep, that's true. Because even after all of that happened yesterday, I still had a talk with my clients, and I told them in the end, I was like, you still want to try to have a good relationship with them, even though I know it's kind of a long day and it was a lot of back and forth. I was like, still, be nice, have a good relationship. and that way everything can run smoothly in the future. So very important.
Yeah, that's the basis of everything, because even if things go wrong at any point, I mean, we're nothing, no one is safe from situations happening. And if we've had a good relationship with the landlord, then we will be able to negotiate a lot of things, like leaving earlier or things.
Exactly. Exactly. Facts.
The last thing I would like to touch, just for closing the rental agreements, not only in Merida but everywhere in the world, is the increases, the annual increases. Because of course there's people that's going to stay more than a year, and they're going to want to renew the contract. And here's the question: do I have to pay again for the notario? Do I have to pay another security deposit? Do I have to pay whatever? So basically, probably you are going to have to pay again for the contract to be done, because let's remember that in Merida the contracts have to be registered in the government. So that causes, or that costs a tax, so some sort of a tax. Is more like a right. So, and of course the fees of the attorney, but it shouldn't have any changes from the previous contract that you already have. No, you don't have to give another security deposit because you've already given one or two. So those ones should be taken as the same security deposits. If you want to do the whole protocol, then the owner should give you back those deposits, and then you can give them back again. But
Okay. But they should carry over. They should carry over to the next contract.
exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. And the increases, the most common situation is not to increase the rental when you've been a good tenant, etc. No, it will depend of a lot of factors, but let's stay on the situation of having an actual increase, because of course everything is increasing and there's a lot of inflation happening around. No, so the accepted percentage is somewhere between 5 and 8%. In the old days, like, I don't know, 18 years ago, we used to use the interest rate, from the bank, which was around 5 to 7%. But in this case, in Mexico, it's around 12%. So we cannot use that anymore, because it's going to be like a super high
Mhm.
increase per year.
Yeah.
There's also a law, but I couldn't confirm the article in the civil code, the federal civil code, which states that cannot be increased beyond 10%. Don't take it as an absolute truth, because I didn't have the time for confirming exactly which article we're talking about. But beyond 10% is not allowed. So if your landlord wants to increase the price in 15% or something like that, you better find another place, unless it's a very unique spot or something like that. But the average would be somewhere between 5 and 8%. That's reasonable and normal.
Okay, good to know. Yeah, that's very important. So, yeah, thank you for that. That's something that I needed to know as well because I haven't done any renewals. I have had someone that reached out to me about it. So, I think that's good information as well. But if you are feeling, because she also asked me, is it okay for them to use the same notary? So if you are feeling a little uncomfortable because of the notary, like my clients, if they want to renew from yesterday, they may be feeling a little iffy about that notary because she told them to tear up their pagadas. Maybe you can, if you've had a good relationship, maybe you can just request and see if it's okay to maybe use a different attorney. So, I mean, it doesn't hurt to ask, but all right, sounds good.
Yes, exactly. So I hope this information is helping people, and it's expanding a bit or not expanding, extinguishing the misinformation, because that spreads easily and fast like powder. So if you have any more questions, we can always have another episode, like in some weeks, about rentals. But be sure to listen the other, or to watch the other episodes about rentals, so you can feel completely informed about the endeavor you are going to embark in. And just reach us out if you have any question. You can also find us in Spotify. We still have only one episode there, but we're going to upload the other ones. I promise.
Yes.
And yes, I mean, you can find us almost everywhere. We're going to be like a hunting ghost for you, so you make the right decisions.
Facts. Yep. So you can find us if you have any questions. House by Mexico and Quarters by Kiafa. So feel free to reach out. We're more than happy to assist with. And I know we're talking about rentals, but we also do listings as well. So if you wanted to buy a property or sell a property, buy land, sell all of that, we're like the total package. So we can help you with everything.
And pay our bills. Remember, pay our electricity bills.
Exactly. Exactly. And if you want to volunteer to pay the electricity bill, definitely reach out as well.
If you have some extra money and you want to pay some bills, then that's fine. It's not going to be deductible, but you're going to be doing a good actions. Sorry for the bad jokes. It's 10 p.m. here, so my humor is completely broken, and you should be glad of this podcast not being in Spanish, because then there would be no place for you to hide from my dad jokes. So it's good that the language is limited, so you don't have to suffer that.
I like your jokes. So
Thank you. I sometimes feel embarrassed that sometimes after finishing the call or the podcast or whatever is like I should
I'm good.
but it is
No,
what it
it is what it is. It is what it is. So, all right, Karina. Well, I guess I will be chatting with you again next. Well, we chat every day, but
is.
live again. We'll be live again next Thursday, and as always, we will have a flyer out to let you know what time so that you can join us. I think
I
that's
love
it.
perfect. Thank you, Keith. Thank you, everyone who's watching it. Thank you, Gigi, for always being
Thank
here.
you, Gigi.
We're invite you for some dinner when we meet.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. So, and I mean, if you've liked this, just feel free to share it with whoever you find you think that might find it interesting or useful or educational or funny or whatever. But just share, like, subscribe, and whatever. Thank you very
Exactly.
much. Have a
Thank
good
you. Thank you for tuning in, you guys. Bye.
day. Bye bye.